Is Tyrone still with us?
Yeah, we still got him.
All right, Tyrone, let's bring Tyrone back up. So, Tyrone, you're saying that you're disagreeing with me about the NFL being an ultimate meritocracy. What percentage of coaches or GMs need to be black in order for you to believe the league's not racist?
Well, number one, I'm not one of those black guys and white man that people come in and can't speak the language and start a business or whatever. Anyway, Clay, you make that point. Why doesn't it reflect the population of the country? Well, why doesn't it reflect that on the damn field? You answer your own question.
I mean, no, it's an interesting point. But
the
my
NFL
point would be
is like
that
its own planet. It's like its own planet. So
okay, but let's ask this. You presume that NFL owners want to do whatever it takes to win games, right? It is that is the number one goal of an NFL owner. If you agree with that?
Money is first. Money is first. Money is first.
I don't even think money's first. I think winning matters to them more than money. Now, the franchise values have gone up, but everybody who owns an NFL team is already super rich. So I think it's like, to me, an NFL team for a rich guy is like a painting that you can hang on the wall. It's about showing everybody else how rich you are. Okay, that's my argument.
You don't get that type of money unless you want to make more effing money.
Yeah, right. But I think there are better ways. Like Jeff Bezos doesn't own an NFL team yet. He's the richest man in the world, so far as I understand. And if he wanted to make the most money possible, he wouldn't buy an NFL team because his money is better off right now in Amazon than it would be for him to pull that money out of Amazon and put it into an NFL team. An NFL team for a super rich guy, at least at this point, to me is like being out and going and buying the latest painting by the richest, the most, Van Gogh. It's like an NFL team is like, boom, look how much money I've got. But in general, you can argue, you could say they want more money. Typically, how do you get more money? By winning football games, right? They're connected.
Well,
if other teams are racist and missing out on the best talent in coaching or GM based on race, why wouldn't competition lead to you going out and taking advantage of their racism and getting better people that they won't hire because of the color of their skin?
So, wait a minute. So what you're saying is we can run, jump, and all that, but we can't do that. Even though most of those guys.
It's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying if you buy into the idea that the NFL is super competitive and all that matters is finding the best possible talent, my argument is the marketplace ultimately gets things right, like they got things right with Patrick Mahomes and like they got things right with Christian McCaffrey. So if there is a huge number of people out there that are talented that are being overlooked, as an NFL owner who is highly competitive and trying to do whatever it takes to win, I'm going to go out and get the best possible people.
All of them.
And so if they are failing at that, then ultimately it is a huge failure of the business itself, and it will be rectified by the marketplace.
Clay, you know and I know they make money regardless if they never win damn games. Cincinnati Bengals, you know their owners suck. You know that.
So you think all the owners are racist?
No, that doesn't mean you're a racist.
Okay, what's your rationale then?
Well, you hire, and I would probably be a victim of this too. You hire people that you're comfortable with. That doesn't automatically make you a racist. You just hire people you're comfortable with in those positions of decision making. And one more thing before you let me go. Let Whitlock know. Stop saying that the NFL has made more millionaires, black male millionaires. That's horrible.
Name me another. What he says, I think it's true. Name me another industry in America. Name me another industry in America that has made more black millionaires than the NFL.
I'm not saying it's not true. It's that the problem it probably is true. You don't think of that's part of the problem is that when you think of black people that have money, they sing, dance, run fast. Jay-Z, Beyonce, people like that. You think
Tyrone, stick with me here. I want you to solve all of America's problems when we come back. I'm gonna have you. Yeah, all right. You're going to stick with us. Tyrone's going to solve America's racial issues with us when we come back. This is OutKick on Fox Sports Radio. We're talking about Patrick Mahomes' potentially $500 million contract, the biggest contract in the history of pro sports in America anyway. And if you're wondering what the 5 biggest contracts are, Patrick Mahomes, potentially $500 million, $503 million to be exact. Mike Trout, $426.5 million. Bryce Harper, $330 million. Giancarlo Stanton, $325 million. And Garrett Cole, $324 million. I am saying this is evidence of the NFL embracing the American meritocracy of capitalism working. And it's interesting to me that the highest paid NFL time is Patrick Mahomes, a black quarterback. The highest paid running back of all time is Christian McCaffrey, a white guy. And I am arguing that the NFL represents what America should aspire to be, the place where the most talented get the most money, where what you look like and what traditional success looks like does not impinge on your ability to make that money in the world of sports. Tyrone is hanging with us. He called in hour 1, and Tyrone and I are solving all of America's racial issues. So we bring up Tyrone. So Tyrone, do you agree with me? Let's start back with let's start on a positive ground here. Let's see if we can find some common ground. Do you believe that the NFL is fair in terms of paying the best players the most money? In other words, if you perform regardless of what you look like in the NFL, you get paid the most money. True, we agree. So from a on-field performance, and would you also agree in sports in general, whether it's the NBA, whether it's Major League Baseball, whether it's the NHL, MLS, in general, the best players, the best talent, regardless of what their race, their gender, their ethnicity, their religion, the best players all get paid the most money in sports?
See.
You agree with that as well? All right. So your concern is with the NFL and the lack of people of minority backgrounds in GM and coaching jobs. Is that right? That's what you called in to say.
Correct.
The NFL is not a perfect meritocracy because of that.
Correct.
All right. So let me start here. I think the information, which I don't think we have, you would probably also agree with me that by and large, you don't get to be an NFL head coach or an NFL GM without being a grunt for a lot of years, right? You got to start off, relatively speaking, fairly low. Now, there are some exceptions I will acknowledge, a.k.a. a John Lynch or a John Elway can get elevated to a high position relatively quickly. But for the most part, the traditional, if you or I were saying to our sons or daughters for that matter, hey, if they came to us and they said, Dad, I want to be a head coach, what I would tell them to do is the minute you graduate from college, because I do think you need to graduate from college, you need to go get the lowest level job you can find at an NFL job, work your butt off, and you will then theoretically rise over time. But the best way to get a head coaching job or a GM job, I would think, would be to go to work at 22 years old at a low-level job. Would you agree with that?
Outside of Cliff Kingsbury, yes.
All right, but even Cliff Kingsbury had some. I mean, I think if you go back and
Loser.
look at Kingsbury.
Loser in college, but go ahead.
Yeah, but if you go back and look at how he ended up getting a head job in college to begin with, I think he made $5,000 a year as a quality control assistant for the University of Houston. Somebody, Dub, look up Cliff Kingsbury's coaching history. I know that because I've had him on the show before, and I always like to ask, hey, what was your first salary for your first coaching job? Because almost none of these guys make any money. So the information that we don't have that I would like to see if we want to look at how people end up being GMs and head coaches is I'd like to see who starts off at the age of 22 at the lowest level jobs. That would be somewhat interesting information. Would you agree with that?
Very. Now, you are taking me down. You got your lawyer's hat on dealing with me, but yeah.
But I just want to acknowledge that even though we may have a difference of opinion about how we end up at end results, we got to have a foundation of facts. So if you and I were talking to our kids and we said, hey, you want to be a head football coach, the best way to do that is to go get the lowest level job you can at the age of 22 or thereabouts. And Dub, did you just tell me about Kingsbury? He was in 2008 at the University of Houston. He started off at the lowest rung possible. Now, he had a college career and he had a short-lived professional career, but he started off in 2008 at a quality control position at Houston. And where he really made his bones, if people remember, was he was Johnny Manziel's guy as the offensive coordinator with Texas A&M when Johnny Manziel took off and that offense took flight. He was Kevin Sumlin's offensive coordinator at Texas A&M, and that's how he got the Texas Tech job. Okay, so your question, which is a fair one, is what happens that more white guys end up GM or head coaches, right? That's your ultimate question.
Yeah,
the end result.
That's the simple math. Yes.
All right, so the other thing that I think is an interesting question is a lot of people point to the overall makeup of the NFL, which is around, I don't know, let's say 75%. Yeah. 75% seem like a fair approximation. 75% black, about 25% white, with obviously some guys who are of Polynesian descent, Asian, Hispanic, mixed in there as well. And your question is, why doesn't coaching and GM-ship look more like the NFL player? My position is on that being an NFL player is not really very dispositive in terms of being an NFL coach or GM, in that most of the guys who end up NFL coaches or GMs are going into coaching at the age of 22, and most players, to be fair, they look at the NFL coaching jobs or the college coaching jobs, and they say, my God, I make a lot less money and I have to work a lot harder. That's not really what I want to do when my career is over.
I can go with some of that.
So my position would be, and this is information that you agree with me on this, my position that I would be interested about, because I think everybody should be able to equally compete for jobs. My position would be, and I would like to see this data from the NFL, what is the racial mix-up of the 22-year-old lowest level rung jobs in the NFL? Because theoretically, if you are good at those jobs, that's the best way to move your way up and end up one day being a head coach. And it's possible that you are right, and that almost all of the people that are being hired at the age of 22 are white, and that's why we end up with GMs or coaches that are predominantly white. So if we are missing talent, then that would be a flaw of the system, and your 22-year-old coaching ranks need to be more diverse than they are. But also, it's possible that for whatever reason, white people just gravitate into coaching more because there are a lot more Sean McVays, let's say, who know, hey, I've got no hope of ever being an NFL player, and I think he's a Miami of Ohio college football player, or a Lane Kiffin, and they're like, man, I got no chance of ever being a professional coach, and so I'm going to start professional player. I'm going to go into coaching at the earliest possible age.
Well, all of that is you could agree with, but the issue is that with that high number of actual guys that play, you already know that you're going to have an advantage because of who you know. A lot of times the name that comes with it, some guys are unknown or whatever, but you're going to have a fast track because you did play 6-7 years or more so in the league. Just from the people you know, we know how it goes. A lot of times you get a job, but just because of who you know.
That's right, but I think the NFL ultimately, you don't get to keep your job in the NFL unless you win. So the response that I would have to, the average NFL head coaching job, I don't know how long it is, but the number of guys who are Andy Reid's or Pete Carroll's or Mike Tomlin's or John Harbaugh's or Sean Payton's and coach for a place for a decade or longer, Belichick obviously, is super low, right? So most guys get a chance. They come in, they get 2 or 3 years to prove whether or not they can get it done, and if they can't, they get fired.
Well, what about the retreads that you commonly see, that they get coaching job after coaching, head coaching jobs, and they really never done anything.
I don't have the list in front of me right now of NFL head coaches, but I don't think I think that happens a lot in the NBA, where once you get a head job in the NBA, you get to be a head coach over and over and over again. It seems to me in the NFL, if somebody wants to look up the list of full NFL head coaches, I can think of guys who were successful and moved to other jobs, like a Pete Carroll. He wasn't successful. He went back to USC. He won multiple national championships, and then he got the Seahawks job. But I can't think of that many. Here are guys that I can think of off the top of my head who have gotten jobs. Bruce Arians, but if I'm not mistaken, Bruce Arians had pretty decent success with Arizona before he got fired. And we'll see how he does with Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. Adam Gase with the New York Jets. Other than that, how many guys can you point to, Dub, right now that have been head coaches of one NFL team and then moved on to be head coaches of other NFL teams? Mike McCarthy with the Dallas Cowboys, but the guy won a Super Bowl with the Packers before he got fired. How many? Andy Reid obviously got another job with the Kansas City Chiefs. I mentioned Adam Gase already. Andy Reid got a job with the Kansas City Chiefs, but he's gone on and won a Super Bowl, and he was pretty successful. That's pretty much it. So there are Adam Gase, you might say, okay, maybe he didn't deserve it. Ron Rivera is a minority. He got another chance with the Washington Redskins, but he took the Carolina Panthers to the Super Bowl and had a pretty good winning percentage. That's not that many guys.
Okay, you have a point there comparing the NBA versus the NFL. But back to the thing I was saying before we went to the last break with what Whitlock says about the black millionaire.
Yeah, that's what I forgot about. So Whitlock, for people out there who don't know, Whitlock has said on my show a lot, and he's written it, and I think it's accurate, that the NFL, which is a league that gets regularly attacked, you agree with that it gets regularly attacked by people who are left-wingers, and people say, oh, it's not fair, look at Kaepernick, everything else. The NFL, if you look at the actual results, has produced more black millionaires than probably any business in the history of maybe global business.
That's horrible. Just think about what you just said now. An actual sport, entertainment, has produced more millionaires of black males than anything. When you think about the richest white people, it it's just ridiculous of the number of people that we don't even know that are just loaded, that are white, that have way more money than any of these NFL players, former players we can name. But when we just start thinking about the ones that we do know that people are commonly throw up, Bill Gates, Elon Musk,
Jeff
Mark
Bezos,
Cuban, people like that. People like that. But when you start thinking about black people that are rich, you'll throw out Oprah Winfrey, entertainment, Jay-Z, entertainment, Kanye West, entertainment, Puff Daddy, entertainment, Bill Cosby in jail, entertainment.
Hey, I agree with you. If your argument is that young black kids should aspire to business more than entertainment, I 1,000,000,000% agree with you.
That's what I'm saying. When Whitlock does it, I'm like, man, are you stupid? Why?
No, I don't think he's stupid, but I think it's the point is
I'm like, that's
well,
not
I mean,
good, dude.
Yeah, that's a larger societal argument, though, right? You can argue that young black kids are seeing.
Point,
No. His point is that ripping the NFL for allowing black men to succeed at a higher level than any other industry is not necessarily meaning that the rest of American society is perfect, but that the NFL is a better reflection of black success than any other industry in America. And so you shouldn't be trying to tear down the industry that has allowed more black men to succeed, arguably, than any other industry in all of American life.
Which I get that. I get that part of it, but it just sounds.
I get your
so
point. Like,
bad.
if I'm a teacher right now,
Oh my God!
if I'm a teacher right now, the challenge that you have to deal with, I think in general, and I don't think this is just in the black community, my son is 9. Do you know what my son said his top 3 jobs that he wants to do when he grows up are right now? Now, he's 9, and I'm not saying that 9-year-olds are necessarily known for making the best decisions, but he told me the 4 things that he wants to be when he grows up. I said, what do you want to be? He said, Dad, I know what I want to be. He said, I want to be a pro athlete. And I said, okay. And he said, and I'm thinking that I want to play pro baseball and pro football at the same time. And I said, okay, that seems like an aggressive goal, but I said, okay, I got you, son. And then he said, and if that doesn't work, Dad, I know what my fallback plan is going to be. And I said, okay, what's that going to be? And he said, actor. I said, all right. He said, and then, Dad, you know what I'm going to be if I'm not a pro athlete or an actor? You know what my next fallback plan is? I said, I don't have any idea. He said, I'm going to be a pro YouTube video star. And I was like, all right, that's interesting. And then I said, well, what if you don't make it as a pro athlete? What if you don't make it as an actor? What if you don't make it as a YouTube star? And he said, Dad, don't worry. I've got it figured out. Then I'm going to be a professional video game player. All right. Now, he's 9. He said his four.
Two of those are probably not as obtainable as the latter 3. The pro athlete.
Okay, but the point is, as a dad, when you hear your son say, Dad, I'm either going to make it as a pro athlete, as an actor, as a YouTuber, or as a video game pro, my first thought is, my God, son, you are never moving out of this house. Your mom and I are going to have you forever, all right? But if I'm a teacher, I think that this is emblematic of larger issues that we see in society. There are a lot of girls out there that they're sitting around right there, and they're like, hey, they're 14 years old, and they're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they're like, I want to be an Instagram influencer. Now, at least that's a little bit more of a business side, but I think we do a poor job of encouraging kids, and I think this is one of the challenges of attacking rich people, which is what we see right now. Everyone out there, in my opinion, should look at Elon Musk, should look at Steve Jobs, should look at Jeff Bezos, should look at all of these people who founded their own businesses and become wildly successful as a result, and say the way to succeed in America is by creating wealth through creating new businesses. That's the best way to create wealth. Would you agree with me there? And it doesn't have to be creating a new business. It can be opening up a McDonald's, right? I mean, it can be franchising a McDonald's. It can be getting a Chick-fil-A. It can be having a Jiffy Lube, whatever it might be. The way to real wealth in America is by owning your own business. We agree on that?
I totally agree. I love stories of hearing someone going from 0
Yep.
to 7 figures, 8, 9, whatever. That I can listen to stuff like that for hours because that's what I am. Or what, I'm not the 7 figures, but I do pretty good or whatever. But
you do well enough like me where you cannot imagine having somebody else be your boss every single day, right? Owning your own business is a good feeling.
Oh, I can't. You can't even put a price on it. But it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody because some people can't handle not knowing where your next payday is coming from. If you can handle that, you normally can succeed. You got to work at it or whatever. But most people can't handle that. They think the 9 to 5 is security. But we got 30 million people out there right now unemployed that may think different now or whatever.
Amen. Tyrone?
Well, before I go, one thing with this new contract with what's his name?
Mahomes.
With Mahomes. Is this going to set a new bar? Because with Dak coming up, I know he's not as good, and with Lamar coming up in a year or two, is this a bar that's set, or is just you throw his contract out and no, we're not doing that? You know what I'm saying? Like
it's a good question. Let me ask you this: Tyrone, do we do a good job on this show even when I drive you crazy? Do we do a good job being smart and talking about things from a variety of perspectives?
Man, yes, and I appreciate you. I have a newfound respect. You gave me my time. I know you don't do this with everybody or whatever, but you gave me my time to actually speak my mind, man. I really appreciate it. But yeah, you bring the facts. You treated me like I was on the stand today, but that's cool. Oh, whatever.
All right, I appreciate you listening, Tyrone, and I hope we made America a better place. All right, so good question by Tyrone. I think that Patrick Mahomes' contract is going to be hard for other people to reach for a while, for a few years, because I think he's the unquestioned best quarterback in the NFL. But what I always say is, I don't get mad when Stephen A. Smith gets a $10 million contract. I am rooting for Skip Bayless to break the bank when he goes and gets his new contract done. I want Colin Cowherd's next radio contract to make his bosses cry. When you are talent and you are in a talent industry like I am, or you're in a talent industry like Patrick Mahomes is, a rising tide really does lift all boats. So if somebody else has your job and they're doing it well, one, you should want to be an owner, as we just established. But two, if you can't be an owner, you shouldn't be trying to drag anybody else down. You should be trying to lift them up. I guarantee you that Dak Prescott and Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson and even Joe Burrow and Tua Tagovailoa and everybody else who aspires to be a high-level quarterback in the NFL or already is a high-level quarterback and wants to get paid more, they went out to Sizzler last night and they had a good steak because they were like, Mama, the money is coming. God bless you, Patrick Mahomes. And there are a lot of Kansas City Chiefs fans saying, God bless you, Patrick Mahomes, today as well. When we come back, we got Chris Mannix who's going to join us. What's the latest on the NBA bubble and more? We'll discuss with him. He's our NBA insider. Also want to tell you as we go to break here, go sign up for OutKick VIP. Get hooked up now. It's $99 for the whole year. You get a VIP phone line. You get an opportunity to hang out with me and Jason Whitlock. Lots of great events. You can be commenting on all the great articles we have up on OutKick. Props again, if you didn't see him last night, Jason Whitlock was on Tucker Carlson's show, the highest-rated cable news show in the history of cable right now for Tucker Carlson, and Jason Whitlock was on that show last night on behalf of OutKick. This is OutKick on Fox Sports Radio.